Go. How are we, guys? Welcome back to our next episode on the Monster Cast podcast with me, your host, Mason Paul, and Cameron Miguez.
Hi, Mason. How are we this evening?
I'm doing all right. How about, not seeing any comments just about yet here, but why don't we go ahead and bring on our guest to skip all the dilly down.
Yeah, I say we get right to it.
All right.
Are you connected to him via radio? Hang on. Hang on. Hang on.
The headless spoke up, said leave this one alone. She could tell right away that I was bad to the bone. Bad to the bone.
Mr. Adam Anderson.
What's happening, guys?
Well, I did some quick calculations, and I estimated about $37,000 worth of damage in that 1 minute, 14-second clip.
Ooh, that was a low estimation in my book. I saw that. I saw that in the one hit on the one.
So, I mean, looking back, do you remember any of that stuff you see in that clip? Is any of that, or is it all just blending together?
Absolutely. A lot of those were highlights of my career, and they were low times too. Like the one, obviously, one of the highs was in the Taz truck when clearing that triple bus stack and winning my first World Freestyle Championship, and then but then going to my World Finals behind the wheel of the Legend truck and had an awesome save cartwheel deal and bring it back. But I blew 3 out of 4 planetaries and axles and whatever else broke along with it. And so I wasn't able to compete anymore. So that was a bummer. But that was an awesome highlight video. I appreciate that.
Well, I was going to go all serious and ask all these technical questions, but I decided to go a different route. So for those who haven't followed your career and stuff, I want to know right off the bat, what is the most embarrassing moment that has happened to you at a show? Like climbing out of the truck at the World Finals and your ass hanging out of your fire suit, or what is something that's happened that's just like you don't even want to think about, but I'm gonna make you talk about?
Okay, well, there's a couple of them, but I can say that did actually happen one time. In 2007, the first time behind the wheel of Gravedigger. And it was actually the first time I had wore a Hans device, and it was one of the very well-known freestyles that I did behind the wheel of Gravedigger, filling in for my dad when he had a broken shoulder blade at the time. And my fire suit did fall down because at the time, I didn't have the right size fire suit. It was just a generic one or whatever the deal was. And my entire butt crack was hanging out on the big screen, which was really cool. So that was a highlight in my life that I always forget about, thankfully. But one that was actually behind the scenes, that was one of my favorites of all time. It was when I was crewing and I was working on the Vet King truck. Lee O'Donnell, it was his first year flying and driving the truck. And we were up north somewhere. I can't remember exactly where, but it was cold. So I had Carhartts on and stuff, really cold. And I was climbing out of the truck, and there's this little tab that was on the back side. And you know how when you climb underneath the trucks, well, the tab caught my jacket, and I had already committed and jumped to like land down on the ground. Well, it caught the back of my jacket, and the car is pretty strong. And at the time, I was way more overweight than I am now, and it hung me there like a piñata. And I was sitting there kind of teetering, hanging from the side of this truck. And thankfully, this was like either before the show or the day before or something like that. So the only people that were around were the people that really mattered, the people that were going to see me again. But what I had to do is I actually had to take my whole jacket, my whole shirt, everything, and standing there with no shirt on, just pants. And I get out and look around to see if anybody had seen me, and nobody had actually caught me in the act, thankfully. So that's a very secretive, one of the most embarrassing things that ever happened to me.
Well, just so you're not the only one, and I don't know, Mason, tell me if I've told this story before, but I was doing, and it's actually a show you were at. We were in San Antonio, and we had to go outside for intermission to fuel. And, you go outside, you park on that little hill. And so I was there with Jimmy, and I went to jump up on the back of Bounty to put fuel in Bounty. So I jump up there, and I've got the fuel in my hands, and I'm getting ready to put it funnel in, and it's like, there was not a damn flag on this truck. And I turn around, and there's Jimmy sitting in Bounty laughing, and I realize I'm on the back of Lucas Oil Crusader. Standing up on the wheelie bar, getting ready to put fuel in on Lindsey Wink's truck.
Yeah. Hey.
Once again, luckily nobody can see it, but a few people, but enough people know about it that,
it could have been worse.
Oh, yeah, it could have been worse, but yeah, it was that's one of my favorite that gets passed around. I get brought up to me about once a year.
That's a good one, though.
Luckily there's a flag on the back of it, or I'd have probably fueled him and walked away. Been like, good luck.
All right. Everything's all good. You're good to go.
Give her hell, bud. Well, all right. So one more question I do have, and this one's going to be a little more serious, but, we all know you started in Taz and you were in Legend for quite a few years and kicking ass and building a name. But then Dad retired. You got into Digger. Was that always the plan for you to end up in Digger, or was that something because Dad walked away, it was time for you to move? I mean, how did that all come about?
No, and honestly, there wasn't really – I can't even say there was much of a plan in the beginning, because it was honestly not really knowing where all of this was going to go or what Monster Jam or Gravedigger was going to be, let alone a year later. But here we are, in my career myself, 15 years later. And but obviously once Dad was, going to be out of the seat, then I felt like it was, it was my duty to be the guy to fulfill it. So, especially if there's any events, even in the beginning when I had already been behind the wheel of some other trucks and been driving, but if Dad had an injury or he was sick or anything like that, I started filling in for him, and it was kind of working my way up. But, and honestly, I wanted to earn my keep. I wanted to start from the bottom and work my way up to prove myself. And a lot of times, and that doesn't even matter. A lot of times, as soon as they hear the name or they've been around, they automatically like, he just got handed this, he got handed that, or whatever. And we did get handed a lot. I'm not going to say we didn't, because we sure did. But at the same time, I stayed on the road. I drove the tractor trailer. I tried to earn my keep the best I could, and I wanted to make a name for myself as Adam Anderson before just being the guy behind the wheel of Gravedigger. And I hope I did that along the way a little bit.
Well, do you ever miss that, though? Because now that you've gone into, you have your own name in this business. Nobody can deny that. But the Legend was you. You were in Taz and you did really well in that truck, but the Legend just fit you. You were, and that's when I did multiple tours with you with that truck, and you were just phenomenal. And do you miss having that kind of separate identity, or do you feel like you've just taken over Gravedigger and it's all yours now?
No, I definitely, I do miss that a little bit. I do, but I take pride in what I feel like Gravedigger is part of my life. It's part of my family. Even though the Legend was kind of a stepping stone in the beginning, even for my dad, when it was just a blue and silver truck. But for me to campaign that again, it kind of fit me as a driver, as a person. It just had a great fit. But at the same time, man, I really do take pride when I'm behind the wheel of that truck, and I want to put on a show, and I want to give the people what they expect. Because a lot of times when fans come to these shows, they honestly do not know. They don't know what to expect, except for they've heard of Gravedigger. They know it's crazy. They know it's wild. They may not have heard of Adam Anderson. I don't even take that as I don't take any offense to that whatsoever. But I just want to make sure they know what Team Gravedigger's here to do.
Well, so now, you talk about what people expect and knowing Gravedigger and all that. How hard is it? I watch all these other kids, and like right now, to me, Gravedigger has one of the best stable of drivers I've ever seen. With Tyler Miniga, Morgan Kane, yourself, Charlie Pawkins, of course, we know what he does, Randy Brown, Kristen, doing a great job, Brandon Vincent. how do you keep it fresh? How do you, I mean, is it just a matter of going out there and just pushing the limits every time? Do you have a plan every time? Or, I mean, how do you keep stepping it up to keep that truck where it is?
Honestly, stepping it up is not an easy feat whatsoever because of the younger drivers, and not only the other guys that are behind the wheel of Team Gravedigger and girls, and pushing the limits of those trucks. That I want to make sure that I'm doing what those guys and girls are doing and pushing the limits so I can stay on top also. But it's all the other competitors, and they push you, man, and it's a good thing though. It's a really good thing. Because you then think outside of the box and you try to create things, whether it's mechanically or on the track, to push these trucks to the next level. And I think I have a big advantage in that because I've always mechanically been behind these trucks from the development of what most of the trucks are today. And the knowledge I've retained from my dad and all the other guys, not just my dad, it's the crew, Josh Garcia with JG Shocks, Richard Midget with Midget Motorsports with them engines and stuff like that. And, there's a bunch of other names along the way that I've worked with a ton of these people over the years. And that's the way to take it to the next level is the technology with the trucks, but also the new drivers pushing us.
Well, how do you, I mean, because I think back, I mean, you said this is your 15th year. I've been doing this now. This is my 13th or 14th year. And watching what you guys are all doing with these trucks now, when we all first got into this and first couple of years in, and, for me, I didn't come up in it like you did, but like, there's a lot of stuff I see that there's no way it should work. I mean, we never would imagine, the backflip. I can remember talking about that with Jimmy going down the road about, how cool it'd be to do a backflip before anybody was doing them. And the stoppies, the moonwalks, that stuff. I mean, this stuff shouldn't even be feasible. I mean, how do you approach that stuff of, okay, this doesn't even make sense how this works, but it does. I mean, how do you approach pulling off that stuff and learning how to do that stuff?
Yeah, honestly, my hat's off to a lot of Ryan and Tyler. Those guys, they play the simulator stuff. They do that stuff all the time, and I'm terrible. I'm not saying I'm terrible at it. I just don't do it. I'd rather drive my lawnmower for 17 hours straight than play on the computer all day long. But but they take those things that you do on the games and they push it to the next level. I've honestly done stuff on even on the newest game from Monster Jam, the Steel Titans game. I'll do stuff on that now, playing with my kids in the house on Xbox, and I'll be like, well, maybe I should try to learn how to do something that you think that the truck should not do at all, and maybe it'll actually happen, because that seems to be what happens right now. It's taking the unimaginable and turning it into reality.
Well, and it's funny you say that, because I actually went with our B team, did a show last year, and there's a kid driving El Toro, and I don't know his last name, I'm sorry, but Elvis.
Yeah.
Really nice kid. And that's what he was telling me. He was telling me the rigs and rods. He goes, I've tried so much stuff on that and timing and all that. He goes, I figured it all out through that. And, me being old, it's like, really? You sat here and played a video game and learned how to drive a damn 12,000-pound truck. Great. Yeah. It's I guess it's a different world we live in than it was years ago.
It really is. I cut my teeth on and honestly, I did a lot of learning in arenas when I was behind the wheel of Taz. I did tons of arenas. I traveled all over Europe. I was there for like 3.5 months doing shows, and doing 5 and 4 show weekends, just driving the truck, man, and just getting to know where the truck was and what stuff felt like. And I honestly, I look back and I think about stuff that happened, like where the truck was putting itself in the position to do some of the stunts that we do now. And I had no clue. I just was my first thought was to recover the truck, not to get it in this precarious position and carry out this stunt. But mine was like, I better save this thing or I'm going to get yelled at for wrecking this body, and so it's the way of the world is definitely different. That's for sure.
Right. Well, Mason, I'm sure we're getting blown up with comments. I don't want to sit here and steal it all from everybody. What do you got, bud?
There's actually a few coming out right here. There's one from William Carroll Arnold, and he says, question for Adam. Is the steamroller at Digger's Dungeon a completed project, or do you still have plans for it? Paint, fab, work, etc.?
All right. So the steamroller that he's talking about is I think it's a 65 or 64 Chevrolet. I don't even know. I never got a title for it. But I put it was a rear end out of a lull in it with planetaries and stuff. And I wanted to tub it out. I always had the big turf tires, they're 66 and they're not 43s. They're actually 50 wide. So they're wider than your average tire on the monster trucks. And, but I tubbed it out and built this custom little single rail frame rail. And it's got the original, is it a 283 or 289 straight six with a turbo off of 2008 Cummins on it. And I bought a brand new carburetor and put on it, and it blew all the seals and everything in the carburetor. It wasn't meant for the turbo and all this stuff, but I was building out of junk. It was all junk that I had laying around. And I actually just last week ordered the EFI kit because so many people have been asking about the steamroller truck that I have to bring it out of the grave basically and finish it up. When I say finish it up, I barely got front brakes on it. Barely. They would kind of work as the original drum brakes. I tried putting a pinion brake on the rear, but my frame rails were so close together that I couldn't put a caliper in there. So I got to figure that out to put a caliper on the pinion brake that I made for it. But it will ring donuts. It's got a 3 on the tree. So I hope to put the, which I've got, I would say I have estimated of about maybe $250 in it. Wait, I take that back. I maybe have $350 because I did buy a brand new carburetor for it. But now I've got a $800 EFI kit that I ordered and I'm going to put on there. So the truck will run because so many people are asking about it. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I actually need to call Richard and see if it came in yet or not. And I'm going to put the EFI on it, which it shouldn't have because of what it is, but I'm just going to do it and get the turbo back on it and get it running. It actually will start up and run again. We just had it fired up a couple of weeks ago, moving around. But I want to finish it up. And I tried to drive it down the road and it will not drive down the road. The tires were off of, I bought them from a guy that had a scrapyard and he had, I want to say 14 of those floater tires. And I bought them all from him. And they've been sitting for years. I want to say they have to be at least 30 years old. And they had flat spots in them as big as a Volkswagen. So when I try to drive down the road and there's no suspension at all in the rear of the truck, I think the back tires came off the ground and I almost couldn't even control it. So then I had to just pull back in and shut her down. But hopefully my goal is I want to drive it to Sonic one day and get a milkshake.
Well, if you're going to put an $800 EFI, you got to put a $500 stereo in it too.
I don't even know if there's a place in the dash for the stereo.
Yeah. Well, that's even perfect. You just build one next to the seat.
It's actually pretty pristine. I ruined a really nice C10 truck. A lot of guys would have loved to have that thing.
What else you got,
Here's
Mason?
a good one. We got one from Liam Mann asking, why did you go to a gas shock setup after so many years with the coilover setup?
All right. There's actually a pretty cool story behind this. So I love my coils. I really did. But we kept just putting so much, we were spending so much of the R&D money on these things and to buy springs. It was hard to come by to get custom springs made for the lengths that we needed and all that stuff. And a lot of spring companies were so far behind. And that was our next step. We kept moving farther and farther ahead with them. But then something would bring us to a standstill. And they did work great. And I do miss them sometimes. The ride height was just so high on the truck, but it was so stable. I really did love it. But when my dad, towards the end of his career, he didn't even like to test his, I can't say he didn't like to test it. His body really couldn't take it anymore. He was just, so what I would do is I would just beat my brains out in the test field. And I would do the most absurd jumps that you could do in a monster truck. And I did it intentionally so we could learn about the shocks. And it wasn't only for myself. It was for Dad and it was for everybody, really. And I remember having the sorest neck I've ever had in my life because I would jump the biggest jump we had as fast as I could, and I would just let out in the air and let this truck fall. And we tuned these shocks to where it wasn't hurting me anymore. And it was, my neck was hurt so bad. It was already done. I had whiplash so bad. It was unreal with all the safety gear. I just did it over and over and over again. Well, my dad went on for the rest of his career with those shocks, that same package, that tune that we put in them between myself, Josh Garcia, and a couple other guys at the shop and his crew. And he finished out his career in those. And then Ryan drove his truck in the 35th anniversary. And so keep in mind, when I was tuning this truck, I was sore and everything hurt to me. Well, Ryan drove it for the 35th anniversary and he jumped it. He said it is the best landing truck he's ever been in his life. So when Dad retired, I said, those shocks go with me. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into those things. And so I wanted to try them. And so I put them on my truck and they work great. They really do. So that's the kind of the big story behind that, of which I thought was pretty cool. And it was a lot of work that went into what's in those shocks. And I've had the same shock package on my truck since we put those shocks on my truck, and they work really good, whether it's going big or small. And I always get nervous if anybody else drives my truck. I'm a nervous wreck because I feel like maybe I don't have the knowledge, or maybe I'm too cocky about the setup that I put in there, and I'm wrong. And so I'm nervous and I want to hear their feedback. So I'm like waiting and waiting. And like Charlie Pauken told me, he said, dude, I cannot believe what that thing feels like. I'm like, okay, good. Because I talk trash about Charlie's truck. I'm like, this is the worst landing truck I've ever been in my life. And myself and Woos Bobby Powers redid the shocks and got it tuned up a little bit for him. This was quite a few years ago. I had it in Australia on a tour, and it's a lot better now. That truck at the time, I can't remember which one it was. But he and John Zimmer drove one of my trucks before, and Morgan, and they all said, man, that thing is just a Cadillac. And it made me feel proud of my knowledge, I guess, that I had behind the wheel and in the seat to tune a truck.
Yes, I did something right.
Yeah, exactly.
Another one from Jamie Hyder, actually. Sorry. This one looks like it's for all of us. Guys, what's tougher to run, arenas or stadiums? My family has seen all of them, and it looks tougher in the arena.
Man, honestly, I really – so I've been doing the way the touring has been for the past couple of years, I've do a majority of stadiums. And it is honestly super relaxing to come back to an arena. And I can't say I don't do any practice. I don't do any training or anything like that. I don't practice the tricks that we do. And so I can't say that I go to an arena to practice, but at the same time, I do stuff there that I wouldn't necessarily do in the stadium setting. And so I really enjoy that. I feel comfortable there, even if they're small. I don't know why. And maybe it's because I cut my teeth in arenas years ago. Just as all the new people are doing now, that's the way you come up, I guess, to earn your keep, and then hopefully one day get that stadium tour. But man, I really enjoy it. It's low key. It's a lot of fun. A lot more. You can do a lot more technical stuff there, or at least attempt to do a lot more technical stuff there. But the stadium that's my happy place, I guess, man. And I can let it rip in there. And I can't say that I don't get nervous, because I always do get nervous because I don't want to fail or wreck or crash too early or anything like that. But I want to be able to put on a good show, and I'm confident as long as I can keep it on four wheels, or at least one wheel, and keep going, that I can put on a good show.
Well, and one thing that's always impressed me, and I've told you this many times, but you and Ryan, I've always been impressed by how hard you guys run. But unlike other drivers I've seen over the years, you guys aren't out there to intentionally tear up the truck. And it amazes me what you guys can do sometimes and drive that truck off the track. It may have body damage. It may have a broken axle. But it drives itself off. They drive out to the pits, drive it out to the trailer. And is that a fine line that you've had to learn to walk, or was that just one of them things of over the years, since you know how it works so well? You know, because there's very few guys that can do it. I mean, you have Cretan that can do it. Jim Kohler knows how to do it. You know, your dad was also one that could do it. I mean, it's so hard to find the guys that can drive, put on that show, run it to the ragged edge, and then drive off. I mean, that to me, that's where the true skill lies. So is that natural?
Yeah. I part of it, I think part of it is it's an ability that not everybody has. And I can see that right away in certain people. I can watch them drive. I'm like, nah, that ain't happening. They're not going to make it. As far as I want to say they're not going to make it, they may have some of the wildest wow factors you've ever seen, but they do the most damage you've ever seen in your life too. A lot of it for myself stems from because when I was the driver / crew, and I knew if I destroyed this truck that I was going to have to fix it. And there was one other guy to help between two other trucks. And so I knew this was not, I didn't want to do that. So I can't say I did hold myself back some in the beginning and so but it helped me train myself to become a better driver, to learn what the truck was doing. And when I wanted to push it, or if I had to push it, or my favorite thing ever is when one of the guys would come down to me and he would tell me, he says, all right, the show's not doing too great. We've had a lot of wrecks, or everything's, everybody's rolled over too early, or whatever the case may be. Well, we would need you to light it up out here. I'm like, it's on, so that felt really good.
That didn't sound good.
Nah, as the wind shifted here in that fire pit, it wasn't just it wasn't a fog machine I had going for effect. It's my wife just drug it out of there because it was smoking me out, and I was just crying while I was talking the whole time.
All right. Gotta love live TV.
Good.
Yeah, I don't even remember what we're talking about now. This fire just smoking out. I think I lost a couple brain cells.
All right. Well, Mason, with that, let's go back to the comments where Adam died.
All right. Sounds like a plan. We have one from Levi Shones, and he's asking, what was the weirdest truck you had to drive?
The weirdest truck I had to drive? I can't even say that I've really ever drove a super weird truck. I mean, a truck that has ears and eyes is kind of weird, but at the same time, the kids love it. The one thing that threw me off the one year was that the Monster Jam guys called me up and they needed somebody to drive the Thor truck. And I think it was Arnhem Holland. I'm like, dang, sweet. I was like, well, I wonder what's up. I wonder why Peter Nyman can't make it. Those guys, why can't they run their truck? And the Thor truck that's, everybody knows over there. And it's a cool truck. I think it's a sweet truck, clean, kind of like an old school race truck sort of deal. And I'm like, all right, cool. That'll be pretty neat. And I'll be kind of representing the local guys, sort of, kind of. And then the body shows up to the shop in North Carolina to be mounted and has this huge hammer on the hood. And I'm like, oh, I see. This is not that Thor truck. This is Thor. This is the Thor truck. So, and it had like wings on the. Yeah. And it wasn't weird. It was all right. It wasn't definitely not the worst truck ever, but it was part of the Marvel deal. And they were doing this team challenge over there and all this stuff. And it was the concept was cool, but I just remember being so irritable. I was like, why am I driving this goofy truck? And I would like interviews. I won everything, and I wouldn't even talk during an interview. I just Chad Fortune was the spokesperson, and I was just like stand there and just be like a tough guy. Like, I just won, but I'm not even going to say anything because I'm embarrassed. And I remember running into the side of a van and blowing the hood off because it was the whole hammer, and I ran right into the side of a van and the whole hood blew off. And the crowd cheered, but also more so the other drivers and crew did because they knew how I was infuriated that I had to be behind the wheel of that truck.
Cool. Going back to talking about different bodies, here's one from Nick Bogler, and he's asking, what was the deal with the proposed Purple Legend from a few years back?
The Purple Legend deal, that was it was a deal that is, and honestly, I didn't know what it was. Nobody did it. It popped up out of nowhere, and then they had already put it in all of this stuff, and I'm like, what is this? What is this thing? And so it was a big miscommunication, and some people loved it, some people hated it, and I personally did not like it, and I just felt like I just didn't want to represent that. I didn't know what it was. I was like, but they said it was because of whatever the colors were that people loved it and kids loved it and this and that. And I'm not saying that they didn't. And now if we probably brought it back and ran it again, that people would love it because they gave them a taste of it and just artwork, but never got the real thing. That would probably be a big hit because of it, because it was such a big controversy about that. But I just, I was like, the first thing I thought of, I'm like, oh my gosh, I am not the best built person to be wearing an all purple fire suit. That was my first thought. I'm like, they're going to have me looking like Barney out here, you know? But the fire suit was actually pretty decent. It was kind of cool, but
the color reminded me that it should be sponsored by like Prilosec OTC. It reminded me of that. That was the first thing I think of whenever I think of that purple truck. That's what I think of.
Oh, no doubt.
What else you got there, homie?
We got one from Brian Anger, and he's asking, what's it like carrying on the Gravedigger legacy? Which truck is and which truck is now your favorite to drive?
Carrying on the legacy is it's been pretty. I can't say it's tough, but at the same time, it's pretty easy. Because I do enjoy it. I think that's why I do enjoy it, and I do enjoy the people. I respect the fans. I'm very thankful for what they've done, and for our family to support support Team Gravedigger and being behind it, and support my dad. I know what it takes to bring a family to an event, to support that, and put everything that you've ever saved or wanted to, and bringing your family to an event to have a good time. And that's what their world revolves around is Team Gravedigger. And it's not everybody's like that, but there's a lot of people, and I'm very appreciative of that. And I don't even know where else I was going with that, but I'm just, it's the being a part of the legacy is an honor too, because I was there in the beginning, seeing where it came from, which was nothing. And when it was nothing, it didn't seem like anything out of the ordinary to me. Growing up and my dad creating what Gravedigger is today, and even what all of Monster Jam is today, if it wasn't for my dad, it wouldn't be where it is. And to be one of the very few people that can carry that legacy on, it's a complete honor. But to follow it up with my favorite truck, that's kind of tough. As soon as I got behind the wheel of just the Gravedigger truck, it was kind of like this different thing came over me, and I didn't care anymore about. When I say I didn't care what it took, and the crew knew they didn't care what it took, not necessarily to get the win, but it was to create that memory for that family that came out and spent their hard-earned money to have a good time. And we want to give it to them no matter what, no matter how many hours of work it was going to take, how many parts and pieces we're going to have to put back on that truck. We want to give them that show because we know what it takes to carry on that legacy.
Interesting.
Well
Another
said.
one from Liam Mann, actually. Sorry to cut you off there. And he's asking, do you think Feld will ever let you guys run Zoomies again? And he has hashtag make most trucks loud again.
Whether they do or don't, it's honestly, I mean, it's cool. It'd be awesome, but at the same time, that's right now in this day and age, man, that's the least of my worries. Let alone hearing a set of Zoomies or the MagnaFlow mufflers. Even hearing those would be great right about now, you know. So they would be awesome, man. But the thing is, man, I want to protect all the little guys and girls. All of us big guys that want to go deaf for the rest of our lives, that's cool. But for the little guys and girls that come to those shows, we want them to keep coming back and not scaring them away. So I'll do whatever it takes to keep them coming back.
I'd just be happy to hear a truck fire up again.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. One from Daniel Barron. He's asking, what's your best fan memory?
My best fan memory, man. That one kind of threw me off a little bit because there's some crazy ones, man. I'm trying to think. Had some really wild ones. The one, what's the one kid that always chases me down and tries to strangle me and stuff? Galloway, Mark Galloway.
Mark Galloway. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Mark. So this is a good one from the last show we just did in the Georgia Dome. And because he's into wrestling and stuff too, and we did some little gag videos, and I talked some smack on some videos for him towards some of his buddies, and then he had somebody video him for him, and then he choked me. When I say he choked me, he actually put his hands around my neck and kind of, he didn't really choke me, but he kind of caught me off guard too, but he also caught the security guard off guard. And I had to stop the security guard. I'm like, yeah, he's all right. He's all right. He's my buddy. It's okay. And yeah, Mark Galloway just choked me in Atlanta just recently, so that was a pretty good memory.
That's a cool story. I think you want to be careful on Facebook.
That's
a great time.
another one from Levi Jones, and he's at
Hooters or JT Smiths? JT Smiths, you know better, Levi.
One from Levi. Yeah.
I knew that one. I read it. And JT Smiths, Levi. Don't even joke around. That's the one that's the restaurant right next to the Ayers Anaheim, right next to the stadium there. That's my favorite.
Yep. 10-pound home of the 10-pound hamburger.
Is it really?
Yeah, you never seen that?
No.
Oh, when I was there with actually the Pagliarulos, when I was with Jester the year, me, Nick, Matt, and Tanner all went there for dinner, and they had it was a 10-pound hamburger. You buy it as a family, and the four of us. I mean, you know, me and Matt sitting there together, and we couldn't finish it.
Oh, geez.
Oh, dude, it was enormous. It was ridiculous how big it was. Woos could give it a run, guarantee it. That little princess.
All right. One from Brian Anger, actually, and he's asking, will we be getting more Gears and Nachos podcast?
Yeah. Bryce and I, so we were just taking a little break because honestly, we've been doing a lot of stuff similar to this with you guys tonight. But we've been doing a bunch of stuff with the sponsors, and I can't say it's been tough. We've had time to do it, but we're just kind of taking a break for a little bit, trying to figure out where we're at in the world today and what's going on. And but we were talking about it. He just texted me yesterday about something, and I texted him back a short answer, just like he's my girlfriend. And but we need to get back on it and get a couple more episodes in. We want to get my dad on one, and Ryan, and we're just gonna throw it back out there here soon. We'll get going again.
Let me tell you, Cretan's actually a good interview on one of those.
Is he?
Yep. We had him a couple weeks ago. He was great.
Yeah. I'll have to probably get in a fight with him on there.
Well, I mean, you have to plan for an hour and a half for 3 questions, but he's fantastic. No, he really actually was really good. Him and Don, it was one of our best ones.
That's good. That's cool. Yeah, we'll have to hit him up too. Which when Bryce and I had first started our podcast deal, none of this was going on. So a lot of these different networks and apps and all these different things to stream all this stuff, I can't say it wasn't available, but it was you had to pay for everything and this and that. And Bryce and I were just having fun, and we did invest in. We bought mics and we bought some stuff and paid for a little bit of time on some streaming sites, but and then it was almost overwhelming with the whole virus deal coming down, and all the stuff going on and trying to figure out, what we're doing with our lives for the next couple months or however so long it's going to take.
Well, we had the brilliant idea. We did a game show a couple weeks ago. We decided we were going to do a game show since we couldn't have the World Finals. So we did the actual first annual Monster Cast Shelter in Place Stay at Home Social Distance Trivia World Championship. We had 32 competitors going head to head bracket style. And I mean, we had everybody was in it. I mean, Cody and Cam McQueen ended up winning it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I texted your brother, and I believe I texted you, but neither one of you answered me. So
sorry, man.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I get it.
Whatever. Sorry.
But yeah,
hey, talk about some of your sponsors real quick while I go to the bathroom.
All right, we're sponsored by Charmin toilet paper, and yeah. Well, this is different. Any questions for us, Mason? Why he's not here, or anybody wants to ask a question? I can talk about him.
Reading from a few back here, still the only one that could even be directed towards us was talking about which one is tougher between arenas or stadiums. I mean, as true guys ourselves.
Hey, Mason, while he's gone, I got a question for him. Somebody needs to chime in and ask him about the cherry pit. Ooh. So somebody's got to ask about how does he feel about the cherry pit in Anaheim, California.
All right, I believe everybody at least heard that one, so we'll just have to wait and see.
Oh yeah, we got that question pop up.
Yeah, we actually have one from Travis Scroff, and he's asking what's Cam's favorite monster truck. I don't know what that one would be.
By far, I would say Tough Enough, Jack Caberna.
Really?
No, my favorite monster truck. If I'm just picking one truck, it will always be the Holy Grail Bigfoot #1. Sorry, but that's just that is the Holy Grail truck. I mean, there is no other one I'd rather ever be around or drive someday. I feel it.
All right, sorry about that. I'm back. I'll give you an extra 45 minutes.
Well, because we went to talk about all our sponsors and we realized we'd have none.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. So instead we just talked about donuts.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Good donuts. Oh, actually, looking at a few questions here. Here's one actually from Shane Hughes, one of our guys, and he's saying, "Have you ever been to the Cherry Pit?"
Have I ever been to the Cherry Pit? I plead fifth. The Cherry Pit is a bad place that nobody should ever go there. Even when you drive by in the daytime, it doesn't even look very nice.
That place has been discussed on this podcast multiple times.
I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
My wife's Googling it right now.
She's Googling it.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's just a bar. Don't read too much into it. It's just a bar.
It's a terrible pool hall.
Yeah, but a lot of good stories come out of that place. In fact, I believe once I left there pregnant.
Really? All right. We have
my buddy. What is it? I see one from my buddy Big John. He says, "What's the baddest ride truck on the planet?" And I know what he wants me to say, and I guess I'm gonna have to say it. It's the Sasquatch. I love it.
Plug. Nameless plug.
Yeah.
Wouldn't hurt. We have one from Mackenzie Ray. And the question is, between Vet King, Bulldozer, Blacksmith, and the Legend, which one would you like to bring back?
Ooh.
Oh, man.
That's a good one.
I always loved the Blacksmith truck. I really did. I thought it was really cool. And even in the beginning, I really wanted to drive. I kind of wanted to drive that truck over the Vet King. I honestly didn't like the Vet King thing. I thought it was kind of goofy. But I would bring back the Legend truck again. If I was going to be behind the wheel of something, it'd have to be the Legend. That's where I would feel at home in that.
All right. One from Cammy and she's asking, what is your favorite place to go domestic and or internationally? Miss you guys, and hello, Bree.
It's Cammy.
Oh, hey, Cammy.
Bree said hi. Domestically, honestly, I really do. I really did enjoy going to where the Cherry Pit is located, which was Anaheim, California. It's one of my favorite places to go. We do like 5 shows there, and it's almost packed out every single time, which makes sense because there's traffic there from I would say about 5 a.m. to about 9 o'clock at night. 6 lanes packed from one end to the other. I really do like it out there. I enjoy doing those shows. The stuff all through Texas, I really do enjoy doing that. And San Antonio is a really fun one. Internationally, I'll never do Australia is my favorite. I enjoyed Europe because it was so old and there's a lot of really cool things to see as far as history wise, I guess. But I really enjoyed Australia. I really did. I loved it. Steve Irwin's zoo was awesome.
That's my dream place to go.
It was really cool. We rode. I'm trying to think who all went. Quite a few of us went together. It was a train ride from the city in Melbourne, I think. It was about a 2-hour ride on a train out into the middle of nowhere. I don't even know why a city train would go like that out there in the middle of nowhere. And we got off on a stop and got onto one of Steve Irwin's little buses and rode to his zoo. And it was really cool. It was a really neat thing to see.
That's nice. One from Sarah Koch, and she's asking, what drifts better, a Ford Taurus rental car down the side of the Colorado cliffside chasing a BLM cattle, or just a digger truck? Just curious.
Honestly, sometimes a Ford Taurus, I can really lay one down. That's my mother-in-law. She's talking about the time we got a rental car from my brother-in-law's wedding, and a mishap happened when we were getting it and ended up costing almost double. So I got my money's worth out of it. That's all I'm going to say. And they never, so the same roads we were on were around Steamboat Springs. It's where they do a lot of the rally racing. And I was imitating being my buddy Travis Pastrana and rally racing around all of these dirt roads around the mountains. It was pretty cool.
Seems safe.
One from Yo Crawley, and he's asking, what were your thoughts when Stancil was going to jump over the Craton over your house? I'm not sure if that was misspelled,
okay.
But
no, that's how it is. It's a Craton. It's the Horizon Hobby Craton, and so I pull up to my house, and Ryan's got a video on our YouTube channel, and I pull up to my house, and they talked about it. They said they were going to do it, and I'm like, kind of like, all right, whatever. They're going to jump I don't know why my house, but everybody hangs out and plays RC. Everybody hangs out at my house. I got basically a hobby shop. Normally I'm sitting in there, but the Wi-Fi was a little off tonight. So I came up to the back of the house here, and I pull up and I see this makeshift ramp set up in front of my house. And I'm like, there's windows everywhere. Why do we have to jump this? Why don't you do the side or so? There's windows here. And they're kind of like, yeah, I guess there is windows. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to, this is right. There's a pandemic getting ready to happen, and you're going to blow the windows out of my house. And I'm going to have to put plastic over them because I can't buy new windows for my house. So we blocked it with Ryan's Blazer and some other makeshift stuff, and just in case. And he's like, you know what? Forget it. Screw it. I don't even care. It's for YouTube. Let's do it. And hopefully he got a bunch of views because he jumped it and he did clear it, thankfully, because I didn't want to have to work on it.
Nice one from Kevin Lubson, and he's asking, do you have any more Borantine videos planned? Because I have one in the works soon.
No, we probably should do another one. It's been a while, and we've been doing a bunch of stuff, man. And honestly, the past week I've been working on I have a little ride truck place, and we've been expanding on that and doing a lot of stuff, and we can't really do anything with it right now. waiting on all this stuff to be over with. But we did a lot and all that stuff set up and ready, so we're prepared for when things open back up. But we're getting ready to break into have fun here soon, I'm sure.
Well, now Ryan was telling me a week ago about a race you guys were doing. Some junk car race you guys did. What was that about?
It was pretty cool. So it was Weston, my youngest brother. It was his 8th day. He for his birthday, he wanted to have a race. It was basically everybody that works with us, for us, and family to have a junk car race. And there wasn't really a budget in mind. There wasn't anything. There was no rules. It was just get what you can get and let's have a race. So there's a really hilarious video that Ryan put together of that race day on the YouTube channel, and it was a lot of fun. It was a blast, and I think a lot of those guys worked harder the week prior, and on that than they do at any of their normal jobs because they were so excited to do this race. And we had a blast doing it. It was a lot of fun. It was a great way to celebrate Weston's 18th birthday, and hopefully very few of the cars are still surviving from that day, and we hope to bring them back out again. We've had a couple of them back out again, but since we've brought them back out, they've died off slowly but surely.
Well, who won? Or do we have to watch the YouTube to find out?
So I thought I won, but at Weston, he ended up winning it. I thought, but you can't tell where. You'll have to see. You'll have to watch the YouTube video. But I wasn't even in the race. I didn't even have a vehicle for the race until last second, we'll say.
Going on, talking about Weston, actually, we have one from Lee Plato, and he's asking, is Weston going to start driving in Monster Jam now that he is of age?
It's definitely been talk of it, and I think he's going to. Now that he's of age would be now would be the time he would start training for it, which he's been training longer than Ryan and I. Ryan and I trained in a different way. We came up and we played with junk cars and played with four wheelers and go karts and this and that and drove whatever we could. But Weston has been driving a truck with, 1,000+ horsepower since he was like 12 years old. So he's already in the game, and he's been doing some stuff in Dad's King Sling truck behind the scenes that nobody's seen footage of yet. A lot of the stuff that we do in the monster trucks now, we kind of showed him the ropes a little bit, and he's doing stuff in a mega truck that has never been done before.
All right. One from, let me try to pull this one right here, from Josh Rhodes, and he's asking, what is your favorite racing track design?
My favorite racing track, I did love Vegas. I really did love that track. It was always really exciting. Even the new one in Orlando, I thought it was it was really cool. I wish the lanes would have been more even. The right lane was bobbling people up, or it was messed up down in the turn a little bit, but that's part of racing. It doesn't matter. But at the same time, when it's a nice even track, close to even, and it's that makes for some good racing. But that's some of my favorite stuff. There's some other tracks I've seen out there that I would love to run on and have a go at, and I feel like I could have some pretty great success on some of these wild tracks that I've seen throughout YouTube and all that stuff.
One from John Guts, and he's asking, when is the digger going to cross the Keokuk again?
Man, I keep going back and forth. I wanted to do it this last year. Would have been 25 years since my dad had done it in 1994. And I wanted to do it again, and we went back and forth. I already spoke to the county about doing it, and we talked about doing 2 trucks and having a race and this and that. But our schedules are so crazy now. This is that I couldn't accomplish it that year with all the stuff that we had going on, all the events going on throughout the summer now, and all the international events. it was just not plausible for me to do it at the time. But it's coming. I want to do it. I actually just drove old digger number 2 around the parking lot last week, moved it around some. And that's what we talked about, that I was going to build another truck, and Dad could drive that one that he did originally. He could drive it again, and I would build one, and we'd have a race. So we'll see what happens.
Well, now, if I'm not mistaken, don't you have the record now for longest in the water?
No, well, yes, with my RC. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, right.
To scale, it was 300 miles.
Oh, perfect.
We have one from Adrian Jimenez, and his question is, how do you plan on bringing your kids if they want to take over?
How do I plan on bringing my kids? Bringing them where? To Monster Jam, or bringing into the sport? They're already in, man. I don't know. They're so addicted to it. It's almost sickening. It's their life. And I didn't push it. I can't say I didn't push it on them, because it's all that we're around is trucks, but they love mega trucks, and they love monster trucks and Monster Jam. And, they are so excited, because of the situation we're in. I've been doing tons of videos with Spin Master, which my kids love to be a part of, and playing with the trucks. And like, I have to argue with them because they want to do full shows. Like my oldest son, Wade, he's 7, and the other day he's like, "Hey Dad, we got to do that thing that you do before the show." And I'm like, "What, the pit party?" He's like, No. Right before the show, where you have to talk about stuff. I'm like, "The driver's meeting?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why are we going to do a driver's meeting?" I'm like, "I don't know." I said, "We can't do that." He wanted to video it and send it to Spin. I said, "Dude, they don't want that. They don't want to see the whole driver's meeting, dude."
Yeah, but come on. You got to admit, it would be interesting. Let him run it. All right.
Yeah.
Meeting. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Have one
Well,
from Ryder. Go ahead.
We'll let Adam get back to the family, Mason.
All right. I'll go ahead.
Oh, we're good. I'm good. We're good for a little while, man.
All right. Well, let's go.
What day it is?
All right, perfect, because we had 3 more just come in. One from Mike Edmond, and he's asking, have you ever thought about driving an old school leaper digger in a race like back in the TNT days? Dude,
I would love to. I would love to do it one time, as long as there was cars to land on, because that was their suspension. Because I swear, dude, I feel like all right, it's one thing, like everybody says, and not that those guys weren't tough and they would take the wrong hit every once in a while and bust a tailbone or two, but I'm telling you right now, when you jump even on these modern trucks 30, 40 feet in the air, I feel like it hurts worse than the old things did when they were landing on those cars. Now, if you cleared them, it's a different story, because they didn't have no suspension besides their tires and 17 ranchos per corner. But I would love to. It would be awesome. We actually talked about doing that for one of our videos. Was we were going to build. I have so much stuff that I've collected over the years. I'm addicted to trucks and parts and things and just weird mechanical stuff. So I've always, if I acquired stuff, and I have enough stuff around the shop to just build an old school monster truck, not just for static display, but one that we could actually like really jump. And so Ron and I we had just talked about doing that for one of the YouTube videos, is throwing an old school truck together and airing it out.
Yeah, that thing would last about 9 minutes.
We have another one back from Lee Plato, and he's asking, it's about time your kids get into mini monsters.
Honestly, man, so I actually like all the mini monsters I see. They're really cool, but at the same time, I just want to build my own and my own version of it. I feel like that we can make them so much more capable than what they are. Even more so right now. When I say more capable, I've seen some of these little guys and girls go out there and throw down some freestyles in those trucks, and I'm like, man, if they can do that in that thing, which looks like it has no suspension at all, then they're gonna kill it when they're older in a real truck, you know. But I want to build something It's going to be a little bit. I actually just started I have had the parts for a while, and I just actually put the motor and everything in the drivetrain. We just drug it in the shop last week. And I've got one of the guys that's been working for me, and we're getting ready to start piecing it together for my youngest boy, or my oldest boy, excuse me.
All right. One from Liam Mann again also, and he's asked, who would have been your biggest rival throughout your career?
Who has been my biggest rival? Damon Bradshaw in the beginning was, and it was mainly because we were teamed up together. We traveled together we were on the same tour all the time and stuff. So, we always battled out a lot. And it was Neil Elliott and Max D. He was, definitely, and still is. We just it's been a while since I think this year was the first year in I don't know how many years that we didn't tour together. And we always battled it out, and it was a blast. Though I love Neil as a person, but I hated him on the track.
One from Cameron Becker, and his question is: if Monster Jam ever had a venue at Lake Erie Speedway ever again, would you want to come back and drift your truck around the track?
Oh man! As soon as I realized that was one of the coolest things that I ever did. I ruined an awesome set of tires, but at the same time, it was the coolest thing I'd ever done in a monster truck, And if I could go back again, I did one whole freestyle. That's all I did was drift. I don't even know if I jumped maybe twice because I learned to drift on asphalt. I can't say I learned to drift. I always drifted, in racing around the corners and playing in the dirt and stuff, but nothing like that on the asphalt. That was unbelievable. I would love to do that again.
Well, I got kind of an odd question for you to put you on the spot. Hang on, I got an odd question. So let's say you were to leave Felt for whatever reason, and you had your choice of independent trucks to go drive and represent. Who would it be? I mean, what is the one truck you do climb behind the wheel in?
That's really kind of tough because it's always been Gravedigger's always been a part of my life, but something and someone that was always near and dear to my heart was Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher. So if I could do that, that would be awesome. Or even USA One, man. I used to hate it back in the day because he would always win, but at the same time, I loved
it. Good question. Actually, here's another one. We've usually always brought it up between Morgan and with the Groff twins last week. One was like a good one that you and me, Cam, have always asked is like, what's your best like on the road story? Like back in the days when you used to travel around like a lot more, or like when you used to like work on trucks and working and driving. Like, what was like your best story with that?
My best story with that, man. That's tough, dude.
It's really hard to talk to Groffs. The Groffs had a story of their alternator going out in their semi and them turning on a generator, running extension cords to a battery charger, hooking a battery charger up to the batteries, and driving to the show that way.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I did have something similar to that. I can't say similar. It was nothing like that. But I remember the first year I was on the road. It's kind of maybe there's two parts to it. The guy I was on the road with, it was just myself and him. He was the only guy that had a CDL, and so I just had to ride. I'm talking about cross country everywhere, and I just had to sit there, man. It was miserable. First one was going across the middle of probably out there near you guys where there's nothing, where it's flat and no trees or anything. I don't even know where we were, but he's telling me the story about his girlfriend shooting lasers out of her eyes, and he was serious as could be. So I thought he was going to kill me right then and there. And I'd just been on the road for less than a week by myself with this guy. So that was pretty crazy. He was a nice guy. Just a little off. But then same dude was driving, and we were going down this. I knew how to drive. Like I'd always been in the trucks and when I say trucks, in the rigs, tractor trailers, riding, and I drove a little bit too here and there. But I was riding in the back of the truck, and he just kept pumping the brakes. We're going down this mountain, and we're heading to Vegas after we'd already been trapped up in I can't remember where's everybody gets stuck at in Arizona because of snow and stuff. But anyways, we're hung up Flagstaff. We're stuck in Flagstaff stuck there for like 2 days. So we are late coming into the World Finals. And I wasn't driving at this time. And I was just there crewing. And he's pumping the brakes coming down this mountain. And he's rushing, trying to hurry up and get there and this and that. And daggone if he didn't catch the trailer brakes on fire. And he didn't say a word to me. I was in the sleeper. I knew I was going to have to work on the trucks and stuff when I got there. So I was laying down. I was awake because he's about to make me seasick. And he just pulls over on the side of the road and like just pulls the brakes and shuts this thing down. And he takes off running with a fire extinguisher to the back of the truck. And I just kind of like peer out and look around like, hey man, what the heck's going on back there? And I see a ball of flames, and it's because he was getting ready to burn down, about $500,000 worth of monster trucks.
Whoops.
Yeah.
That's a little mistakes.
Yeah. Going back to questions now, we have one again from Josh Rhodes. It's kind of a long one. I know you got a ton of RC monsters, and there are a lot of RC monster truck events out there. If you could compete in any of those RC events, where would you want to go? Also, what's your favorite solid axle class to watch, retro or pro modified, etc.?
So yeah, we do have a lot of stuff out here. Now, I've never been up to where the guys do it up in Richmond. I can't remember. My dad nicknamed him Hippie, I think, because he had long hair. But they have a race up there that they do, and I've always wanted to go up there. Cody Saucier went up there one time and did the race with them. They're very professional. We're rogue, man. We're bashers. We beat our trucks up, and we'll make them we'll build them like everybody builds them on the pictures you see on Instagram and stuff. And then we'll run it wide open into a jump and explode it afterwards, where those guys would never do that, or they don't drive them on dirt or whatever. We just destroy ours. But I love watching. I don't know why. I love watching the little retro RCs. They look so real, and it tricks me out sometimes. I love that. And I've been wanting to build. I haven't even built one. I've got so many parts and pieces, and I've just been so indecisive on building a retro little RC truck that I can't even bring myself to do it for some reason. Like I'm weirded out by it.
See, I'm so out of the loop. I don't even know what the hell we're talking about with retro. I mean,
they actually have leaf springs and stuff, man.
Oh, okay, I'm with you.
I mean, it looks like you for sure couldn't tell if it was a real one or not, but myself, I can barely tell.
Wow. Why we got to go there?
I didn't mean it like that. I just meant because you're not into RC stuff that much.
Well, no, I mean, I love RCs and I have mine. I just don't go. I go full nerd on it, man. I can't help it. It's I enjoy doing it with my kids, and my dad comes over and we all race together and mess around just at my house and bash on them and stuff. So I really enjoy it. That's what mine is. It's me and my boys go out in the yard and just beat the living piss out of them. That's why mine's sitting in the thing, and I need to get a hold of Ryan because mine's sitting in pieces right now. It's a blown out rear end, and a tire completely ripped wide open.
Well, you'll have that.
Yeah. So, and the body doesn't stand anymore. Cracked around every clip.
One from Ryder Bowman, and he's asking, would you like to get back into a mega truck?
I'd love to, man. But this sport, even from when I did it, has changed so much. And to get to build a mega truck now, when I built mine just like I was building a monster truck in the late 80s and early 90s. I just did it with parts and pieces I had and a bunch of junk stuff, and it was so much fun building it. But at the same time, if I would have broken it, I couldn't find those pieces again, or had to custom make them, and it was kind of silly. But now the trucks are full on race trucks with purpose built parts, just like monster trucks are. And so it's hard. You're basically you gotta build a monster truck basically to compete with a lot of the guys now. And there's some of the guys, man, that do it. That I'm not saying that I couldn't compete with them. I'd love to give it a shot. But there's some of those guys, that's all they do. Some of them, I know some guys that have made a living just going around racing mud trucks.
Oh, yeah. Some of them things I've seen, I mean, I've started catching that show a little bit that's on and all that. I mean, them are $150,000, $200,000 trucks.
It is no doubt about it, man. It's unreal. Unbelievable. Some of some of those trucks, they have more horsepower than a lot of them have more horsepower than the monster trucks do. because there's not really any rules or regulations stipulating what you can do to your engines and stuff. And but one thing that's that it kind of keeps me from it. I can't say it keeps me from it, but it's like a lot of the safety stuff. Some of those guys, they're not following up with it as fast as they should. And it's coming though. A lot of the guys have some of the most unbelievable equipment, and not only the trucks themselves, but a lot of their safety stuff is on par with what we do at Monster Jam now too.
It just seems to be a rapid evolution, and it'll catch up quickly. It evolves so quick. I mean, I go back to the days of going mud racing with my brother with the old 77 Ford, and we didn't do shit but just go in a mud hole and try to see who could go the farthest. And now they're jumping everything under the sun.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal, man.
All right. As we bring it down to our last few questions here, we have one from Chris Weaver, and he's asking, do you think your father, Dennis Anderson, would ever come back to participate in a World Finals Encore with Team Digger in the future?
Man, if he would honestly love to do that. And we just talked the other day, and he kind of wants to get behind the wheel again, but his health, he's healthy, but he's just his body over time, man, what the trucks have done to him, and his age, I don't even know how old he is, 57, 58, 50. I don't even know. That's terrible. But it's if he doesn't want to be hurt anymore, and that's what he said. That's what he straight up says. He doesn't want to hurt anymore. And but at the same time, it's a passion, it's a sickness, and he wants to get behind the wheel again. And I think that we can make something happen though.
I say we just have him come out and at least do a donut contest.
Yeah, for sure, no doubt. He would freaking wreck it.
All right, as we bring it down to our last question here, we have one again from Cameron Becker, and he's asking if there are any Gravedigger chassis still intact in the back of the dungeon. Which one do you guys want to revamp and bring them back to life?
Man, sometimes I wish that we would have just kept every single one of them and never disassembled any of them, just so we could have that, and if I could do one, I don't know, the one that I kind of feel like we should put back together is it was GD30, because it was the last truck that Dad drove. So I kind of feel like we should put that back together eventually, just because I think it'd be cool. It's the last Gravedigger Dennis Anderson ever drove, so why not?
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Adam, dude, I can't thank you enough for coming on. We definitely in the future would love to have you again. We do Sundays with the family, so maybe one of these times we'll have to see if we get you and maybe your brother and sister on, or you and your dad.
Yeah.
But it's been great. I appreciate everything, and hopefully for the near future we will see each other on the road again.
Sounds good, buddy. I hope to see you out there too, man. Thanks for having me on, and I can't wait to be on again.
All right, guys, everybody, Adam Anderson. That's where you're supposed to clap, Mason.
I'm doing two different things right now, but there you go. Well, there we go. Well, all right. Would like to thank you guys all again for tuning in. It was actually a really great one. Try to answer as many questions as we could. But with that, I'll go ahead and let you go, Cam. Is there anything else you'd like to say to all the rest of the 40 people watching right now?
Just want to thank everybody for watching. Check us out this Sunday for the Sunday night dinner table. We will have Rick and Eric Swanson. Check us out on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, TMZ, ABC. It's kind of everywhere. And Mason, thanks. You did a good job this week, and we will see everybody Sunday night.
All right, guys. Gotcha.